The Dragon Empress had conquered 17 star systems in 3 solar cycles. Her fleet of biomechanical warships, grown from her own genetic material and fused with quantum drives, had reduced entire civilizations to ash. The Zephyrians, with their crystalline towers reaching into the cloudscorn. The Metheri Collective, a hive mind spanning for planets silenced forever. The Empress herself was a sight that broke the spirit of warriors. Scales that shimmered like molten gold, wings that could eclipse a moon, and eyes that burned with the fury of dying stars. She had come to Earth not for conquest, but for collection. A single human child, prophesied by her seers to be the key to unlocking immortality itself. The child's unique genetic code, they claimed, held the secret to transcending mortality, a power even the Empress, for all her might, did not possess. Isaiah stood in the doorway of the small house on the outskirts of what used to be Portland. Behind him, clutching his worn jacket, was 7-year-old Alyssa. Her dark curls were tangled from sleep, and her stuffed rabbit hung limply in her other hand. She had his eyes, the same hazel that had once belonged to her mother. Before the sickness took her 2 years ago, the Empress landed in the field before the house, her massive form crushing the wildflowers that had just begun to bloom. Her descent sent shockwaves through the ground, rattling the windows and knocking picture frames from the walls. The air itself seemed to bow before her presence, growing thick and hot. Isaiah didn't move. Human, the Empress's voice boomed, a sound like thunder rolling across mountains. You stand before the eternal flame, sovereign of the Draken Imperium, breaker of worlds. Surrender the child, and your death will be swift. Resist, and I will make you watch as I take her anyway. Isaiah felt Alyssa's small fingers tighten on his jacket. He could hear her breathing, quick and shallow. 3 steps behind him was the kitchen, where her lunch sat half-eaten on the table. Peanut butter and jelly, cut into triangles the way she liked. This morning, she'd insisted on wearing her dinosaur shirt because dinosaurs are brave. Daddy, he took a single step forward, crossing the threshold of his home and placing himself fully between the Empress and his daughter. Don't take another step, he whispered. The words were soft, barely audible over the crackling energy that surrounded the Empress, but she heard them, her massive head tilted, golden eyes narrowing. For the first time in 3 solar cycles, something unexpected had occurred. You threaten me. Her laugh was like an avalanche. I have destroyed species that had existed for millennia. I have drunk the cores of stars. What can one human possibly? I'm not threatening you, Isaiah interrupted, his voice still quiet but steady. I'm warning you. The Empress's scales rippled with amusement. She took a step forward, her talons digging trenches in the earth. Isaiah didn't move. My daughter wakes up every morning asking if Mummy's coming back. It's been 2 years, and she still sets a place for her at dinner sometimes. Last week, she learned to tie her shoes by herself, and she cried because her mum wasn't there to see it. Another step from the Empress. The heat from her body made the air shimmer. 3 months ago, Isaiah continued, she had a nightmare. She was screaming, terrified. I held her for 4 hours, until the sun came up. I promised her that I would never let anything hurt her. Do you understand what that means? The Empress paused. Something in the human's tone struck a chord she hadn't expected. It means, Isaiah said. And now his voice carried something that made even the Dragon Empress hesitate. That I have already lost everything that made me want to survive. The only thing keeping me alive is that little girl behind me. You can burn me. You can tear me apart atom by atom. But in the seconds you waste doing that, I will make sure you never forget the name of the man who taught you that humans don't fear death, we'd weaponize it. He reached into his pocket, slowly, and pulled out a small device. It looked insignificant, barely larger than a coin, but the Empress's eyes widened. Antimatter, she breathed. You're bluffing. The yield would take us both, Isaiah confirmed. And everything within 3 miles. I built it from salvage, from the wreckage of your own ships. Your seers want my daughter because she's special. But you know what makes humans special? We're the only species insane enough to pull the pin when there's no other option. For a long moment, the universe held its breath. The Dragon Empress, who had stared down armadas and bent empires to her will, looked at the human man. His hand trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of what he was prepared to do. Behind him, the child peeked around his leg, her small face streaked with tears but her chin raised in defiance. The Empress saw something in that moment she had not seen in centuries, a force more powerful than conquest, more enduring than empires. It had no name in her language, but humans called it love, and its capacity for destruction exceeded even her own. She took a step backward. You would die for her, the Empress said slowly. It wasn't a question. Without hesitation, Isaiah replied, The question is, are you willing to die for your prophecy? The silence stretched. Then, impossibly, the Dragon Empress lowered her massive head in something that might have been respect, or perhaps simply recognition of an equal will. I have conquered civilizations, she said quietly, but I have never understood them. Perhaps that is why I will never be immortal. Her wings unfurled, blotting out the sun. Keep your daughter human. Teach her what you know of defiance. Perhaps one day, she will be the one to stop creatures like me. With a roar that shook the foundations of the earth, the Dragon Empress launched herself skyward. Within moments, she was gone. Nothing but a glittering speck against the stars. Isaiah's legs gave out, and he collapsed to his knees. The device clattered from his shaking hands, a simple communicator. Nothing more. There had never been any antimatter. Just a desperate bluff from a desperate man. Small arms wrapped around his neck as Alyssa hugged him from behind. Daddy, she whispered. Is the dragon lady gone? Isaiah pulled her around, holding her tight against his chest as tears finally broke free. Yeah, babe, she's gone, and she's never coming back. Because you're brave? Alyssa asked. Isaiah looked up at the sky, where the Empress's fleet was already jumping to hyperspace, retreating from Earth's orbit. He thought of all the empires that had fallen before her, and the one thing that had finally made her turn away. No, sweetheart, he said softly, kissing the top of her head, because I'm your dad, and that's stronger than brave. They sat there together as the sun set, casting long shadows across the field of crushed wildflowers, a single father and his daughter. The two people who had just saved the world with nothing but love and the willingness to sacrifice everything for it. The universe would remember the day the Dragon Empress retreated, but Isaiah would only remember the way Alyssa's hand felt in his as they walked back inside to finish her peanut butter and jelly sandwich, because in the end, that was what mattered.